So first you tell me that what do you know about the CSAT? If I ask something about that CSAT, so most of the students, they will say that like, say it's a qualifying paper. Okay. If you ask your seniors, like if you ask those who already attempted the civils the previous years, they will tell you the importance of CSAT. Okay. Why? Because CSAT, yes, it is absolutely a qualifying paper, but it does not mean that you neglect that paper. Okay. So there are different types of students, like math students and non-math students. So basically, you know that like CSAT, in CSAT, what are the different subjects we have? What subjects we have it in CSAT? In GS paper 1, you know that what subjects we have. And in CSAT, what are the papers you have? What are the subjects you have? Aptitude, reasoning, comprehension. Yeah. Okay. If you are not aware of this, what is CSAT and how to approach this CSAT, the importance of CSAT. Let us look at that. What is CSAT, and so we will have a brief introduction about that CSAT. Okay. So basically, the CSAT is, so the full form of CSAT is what? Civil Services Aptitude Test. Okay. It was actually GS paper 2. Okay. So GS paper 1, in GS paper 1 and prelims, you had two types of papers, GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. Paper 1 is completely deals with the general studies only. Coming to the paper 2, that is what popularly known as GS paper 2 is popularly known as CSAT. Okay. So what do we have it in CSAT? That is paper 2. Okay. So here, earlier it was not there. So this CSAT paper was included. Till 2011, this CSAT paper is included in GS paper only. Only from 2011, CSAT paper was separately introduced. Until then, so all this aptitude and reasoning questions were coming under that GS paper only. But later, they changed it to they changed the pattern. UPSC changed the pattern. So from 2011, we have a separate paper, that is GS paper 2 and popularly known as CSAT. Okay. Next, the important things. So how many questions you have? So first, if you look at the pattern of the CSAT, that is GS paper 2, you can see that, right? So this is again objective type. First one is this paper type is objective. Okay. So don't think that it is a descriptive. It's like how you had the GS paper 1. It's in a similar way, it is an objective. And next one is how many questions we have. Total how many questions we have means that in CSAT paper we have total 80 questions. Total 80 questions. And the maximum marks are 200. 80 questions we have and the maximum marks is how much? 200. So CSAT paper is for 200. So which means that each question is how much? How many marks are rewarded for each question? Yes, 2.5 or 2.5 marks. So 2.5 marks. Each question carries the 2.5 marks, 2.5 marks. Next, is there any negative marking? It's absolutely. Again, we have the negative marking here. What is that negative marking? The negative marks, you need to know that. So because most of the students are not aware of this. Okay. So CSAT, in CSAT, it is an objective exam at the same time. So you also have the negative marking. What is that negative marking? Negative marking is 1/3 of the maximum marks. 1/3 of the maximum marks means that maximum marks is how much? 2.5 marks for each question. 1/3 means that what? It will be approximately 0.833. Okay. So which means that the negative marking is 0.833 marks. So which means if you attempt it correctly, if you attempt the question correctly, then you will be rewarded with 2.5 marks, 2.5 marks. Otherwise, if you attempt it wrong way, then obviously you will lose that. Approximately 0.833 means that approximately it's equal to 1 mark. You will lose 1 mark. Next, what is the duration? What is the GS paper 1 duration? 2 hours. So CSAT also 2 hours. And also paper 1 is conducted in the morning. Paper 2 is conducted in afternoon. Okay. So kabatti careful ga undali. Afternoon kabatti. Okay. Right. So next one is, and the main important point, nature of the paper, it's only qualifying paper. Okay. This is only qualifying paper. So which means that if you get the minimum marks, you will be qualified in that paper. So what is that qualifying marks? Is 33% of the maximum marks, which is in terms of marks, it is nothing but 66 marks. So out of 200 marks, you need to get 66 marks. Minimum 66 marks. If you get it, then you can able to write the others like mains and interview. So you will go for it. Right? Absolutely. మీరు గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సింది ఏంటంటే, so if you qualify in CSAT paper, then only you are able to write the mains. Of course, if you qualify the prelims, I mean GS part 1 also. అర్థమవుతుందమ్మా, you understand it, right? So if you don't qualify, so I have seen the students, those who are exceptionally well in paper 1, GS paper 1. Like, so they were getting like around 120 plus, 130 plus. But still, they did not qualify this CSAT paper. CSAT lo qualify avvaledante, it means that you are not eligible to write mains. Again, you have to start from the scratch. Beginning nunchi malla start avvali. So that is the importance of CSAT. So, and one more thing, as I already mentioned this, so many students who are exceptionally good at paper 1, GS paper 1, okay, they are unable to crack this one. There are two reasons. One reason is like if you are a non-math background student, if you are not good at maths, so maybe they are feeling some difficulty to crack this one, to qualify this paper. The second reason is 90% of the students are making this mistake. That is, just because it is a qualifying paper, they completely ignore this paper. They completely ignore this paper. ఏముంది క్వాలిఫైయింగ్ పేపరే కదా, మనకి లాస్ట్లో టైం ఉంటుంది, వి విల్ డూ ఇట్ అనేసి అనుకుంటున్నారు. ఓకే, సో హార్డ్లీ మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద స్టూడెంట్స్ లైక్, సో దే ఆర్ ఇన్ బిజీ. ఐఎమ్ నాట్ డిగ్రేడింగ్ ఎనీబడి, బట్ దే ఆర్, సో దే థాట్ లైక్ దట్, సో వీ విల్ హ్యావ్ దిస్, విల్ గివ్ దిస్ టైమ్ ఇన్ లేటర్ స్టేజ్, విచ్ మీన్స్ దట్ ఎగ్జామ్కి ఒక 2 months ఉంది, 3 months ఉంది, ఓకే, ఆ టైంలో ఇద్దామనేసి దే కంప్లీట్లీ ఇగ్నోర్ దిస్ సబ్జెక్ట్, దే కంప్లీట్లీ ఇగ్నోర్ దిస్ పేపర్. As a result, లాస్ట్లో ఏంటంటే, సో ఐ విల్ షో యూ దట్ స్టాటిస్టిక్స్ లైక్ దేని నుంచి ఎంత వెయిటేజ్ ఉంటుంది అనేసి. కంప్లీట్లీ ఓకే, కాంప్రిహెన్షన్ మీద కంప్లీట్గా డిపెండ్ అవ్వడం కానీ, ఆర్ అదర్వైజ్ దే డిపెండ్ కంప్లీట్లీ ఆన్ ద రీజనింగ్. యాజ్ ఎ రిజల్ట్, దే డిడ్ నాట్ క్వాలిఫై ఇన్ ద పేపర్. Okay, that's why if you ask your seniors, they will give you the importance, they will tell you the importance of CSAT question paper. So by the way, so this is the structure. So total we have 80 questions and the duration is 2 hours. Each question carries the 2.5 marks, and there is also a negative marking which is 0.880. Okay, so minimum we need to get 66 marks. It doesn't matter if you get that more than 66 marks. If you score that 90, 100 or 120, 130 in paper 2, they won't consider it. These marks are not considered in the final list. But you need to qualify this paper. Okay, so దీన్నైతే ఖచ్చితంగా మనకి ఏంటంటే క్వాలిఫై అవ్వాలి. ఓన్లీ ఇఫ్ యూ క్వాలిఫై ఇన్ దిస్ పేపర్, దెన్ దే విల్ కరెక్ట్ దట్, ఐ మీన్ మెయిన్స్కి మీకు వెళ్ళే ఛాన్స్ ఉంటుంది అనమాట. రైట్, లెట్స్ లుక్ ఎట్ దిస్. Next, now we talk about the syllabus. What is GS paper 2? CSAT lo what are the different subjects we have? Syllabus ఏంటి? As per the official data, official గా మనకి UPSC ఇచ్చిన దాని ప్రకారం, so this is the syllabus. So comprehension, interpersonal skills including communication skills, logical reasoning and analytical ability, decision making and problem solving, general mental ability, basic numeracy and data interpretation. Okay, it was given like this in simple words. I'll put it in the simple words. So we have aptitude, quantitative aptitude. In simple words, it's nothing but, so we have quantitative aptitude, logical reasoning and reading comprehension. Okay, so these 3 subjects we have. So even though it was given like this, so quantitative aptitude, logical reasoning and reading comprehension, these 3 subjects we have. Okay, now we can see that what is the weightage of these 3 subjects, so that you are aware of that. So you need to know that on which particular subjects you can focus more. Okay, so let's look at this one by one. Right, so starting from 2019 to 2024 data I have. See, before 2019 the story is completely different. Okay, So you might be non-math background, math background, it doesn't matter. So most of the students qualify in this paper because before 2019. The main reason was most of the questions were from reading comprehension and logical reasoning. Most of the questions, I mean that 90% of the questions were from reading comprehension and logical reasoning completely. So there is no need of doing that aptitude part. So that's why before 2019, if you just look at the statistics, before 2019, so CSAT was not a hurdle. You can clearly qualify in that paper. There was no hurdles at all because logical reasoning, mostly మీకు తెలిసే ఉంటుందమ్మా aptitude and logical reasoning and so at least idea ఉంది కదమ్మా what are this logical reasoning and quant and reading comprehension. So logical reasoning, when you compare with the relatively when you compare with quantitative aptitude, logical reasoning is easy, right? Mostly they depend on the logical reasoning and comprehension, they easily qualify. But the story is different from 2019. You can see that. So one by one I'll go. If you look at this one, reasoning questions, how drastically decrease the number of questions for the logical reasoning. You can see that here. In 2022, 9 and 2023, 8, 11, likewise. Relatively, if you look at the quantitative aptitude, earlier the number of questions in quantitative, before 2019, so the number of questions in quantitative aptitude very less, like hardly you have 5 to 6 questions before 2019. But story is completely different from 2019. You can see the number of questions. Almost all here 2020 is 39 questions so till 2023. Even though 2024 you have 25 questions, and there is one more thing, data sufficiency, that almost all related to the quantitative aptitude. Okay, so which means that now we have the complete weightage is given to quantitative aptitude. So I'll come one by one. The first one is reading comprehension. From 2019, in 2019, 30 questions were given, and 2020, 26, 2021 to 24, standardly the number of questions are given, like that is 27 only. Okay, they are giving that 27 questions in reading comprehension from 2021 to 24. So this year also we can expect the same number of questions, anywhere between that 25 to 27. It's fixed. The number of reading comprehension questions are fixed, like 25 to 27. But coming to this part, reading comprehension. So what is reading comprehension? What is the idea you have about that reading comprehension? Reading comprehension ante endamma generally, so you did it in your school days, right? Reading comprehension means, so a passage is given to us, and based on the passage we will have some questions, right? But when we did it in our school days, it's just like some king queen stories are given, there's basic stories are given, and based on the stories the questions are given. Here reading comprehension is not like that. Again, it is an analytical reading comprehension. Analytical reading comprehension means that the passage is given to us, but answer is not directly taken from the passage, because the type of questions are given, like a passage is given, the type of questions are given like this. What is the central theme of the passage? What is the core idea of the passage? What is the conclusion for the passage? Okay, again it is an analytical based comprehension. Okay, so basically, because since you are an UPSC aspirant, obviously you read newspapers every day. So if you read the newspaper thoroughly, so it would be enough for the reading comprehension. Of course, there are some techniques. So if you understand those techniques, you can easily solve it. Because the passages which are given to you in reading comprehension are mostly related to the polity, economy, or science and technology. Okay, mostly whatever you have studied in your general studies paper. Okay, that will be very useful to you. Reading newspaper will cover that reading comprehension. But don't think that you will do all 25 questions or 27 questions, because the passes are given like 300, around that 300 words passes, and you need to read the passes and you need to analyze the passes. Even then, one or two options looks like the same. Okay, most of the questions. So even if you are very good at English, you can't score more than 12 to 15, more than 12 and 15. Maximum you can score. If you are very good at English, maximum you can score up to 15. You can't score more than that. So another reason is, so it will take time. So reading 300 words passes, and then analytically think about the passes and then doing the questions is little bit time taking. Like roughly it will take that, if you are very good at English and if you can understand the passes in a very quick way, then you can able to do it in 3 to 4 minutes. Max 4 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes on an average you can take. But whereas if you do that reasoning question or quantitative aptitude, it won't take much time. Especially reasoning questions won't take much time, like 1 to 2 minutes. Even quantitative aptitude also you can finish in 1 to 2 minutes. It's not a big deal. But reading comprehension is not like that. You will have to put a time. You will have to spend your time on it. Okay. So that's why you don't need to completely depend on reading comprehension. That is the first part. Okay. But anyways, you can expect that 27 questions. So out of these 20 questions, so some 10 to 15 questions are good number of attempts. 10 to 15 are good number of attempts. Okay. So మీరు ఆ వేలో ప్రిపరేషన్ మీరు ఫాలో అయితే బెటర్. సెకండ్ వన్ ఈస్ రీజనింగ్. So this is the favorite of all, reasoning, because you can score maximum from this reasoning. Reasoning topics are easy, so you can easily get more marks from the reasoning. So again, if you look at the weightage from 2019, this is 13, 10, 18, 9, 11, 18. And there is an interesting story about this CSAT part. Like if you ask 2024 students who attempted this CSAT, I mean those who attempted 2024 paper, so most of the students was, yes, it is a, I mean when you ask that like ఎలా ఉంది క్వశ్చన్ పేపర్ ఎలా ఉంది అనేసి అంటే మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద స్టూడెంట్ చెప్పేది ఏంటంటే సో 2024 ఇస్ గుడ్ పేపర్ కంపారిటివ్లీ ప్రీవియస్ ఇయర్ పేపర్స్తో చూసుకుంటే 24 సో మ్యాక్సిమం క్వాలిఫై అయ్యారు కూడా అన్న. బట్ స్టోరీ ఈస్ డిఫరెంట్ ఫ్రమ్ 2022 and 2023 point of view. And you ask anybody who attempted these 2 years, 2022 and 23, most of the students, ఎంత టాపర్ అయినా సరే మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద స్టూడెంట్స్ చెప్పే మాట ఒకటే, సో 22 పేపర్ రాసిన వాళ్ళు 23 పేపర్ రాసిన వాళ్ళు పేపర్ చాలా టఫ్గా అవుతుంది. CSAT వల్ల ఎగ్జామ్ పోయిన వాళ్ళు చాలామంది ఉన్నారు. జస్ట్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ CSAT వాళ్ళు GSలో ఎంత తోపులుగా ఉన్నా సరే జస్ట్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ CSAT ఎగ్జామ్ పోయిన వాళ్ళు చాలామంది ఉన్నారు. ఓకే. సో ఇట్ బికమ్స్ ఎ ఫోబియా 2022 and 23. So there are two reasons for that. First one is the number of logical reasoning questions were very less. As I already told you that CSAT preparation earlier ఎలా చేసేవారంటే లాస్ట్ 2-3 monthsలో చేసేవారు, అయిపోయిందని అనుకునేవారు. బట్ అక్కడ యాజ్ యూజువల్ UPSC ఎలా మీ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఎలా చేస్తుందో మీకు తెలుసు కదా. ఓకే. సో 9 and 11 క్వశ్చన్స్ ఇచ్చాడు, 9 క్వశ్చన్స్ ఇచ్చాడు, 11 క్వశ్చన్స్ వచ్చాడు. బట్ వాట్ ద స్టూడెంట్స్ ఎక్స్పెక్టేషన్స్ ఆర్ రీజనింగ్ నుంచి మనకు మ్యాక్సిమం క్వశ్చన్స్ వస్తాయి, సో వీ కెన్ సాల్వ్ ఇట్ అనేసి అనుకున్నాను. బట్ ద స్టోరీ ఈజ్ కంప్లీట్లీ డిఫరెంట్. సో రీజనింగ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఎప్పుడైతే డౌన్ అవుతున్నాయో CSATలో క్వాలిఫై అయ్యే వాళ్ళ నెంబర్ కూడా డౌన్ అవుతుంది. ఓకే. దాన్ని డిఫికల్ట్గా ఫీల్ అయిన వాళ్ళు కూడా ఎక్కువ అవుతున్నారు. అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం మనకి క్వాంటిటేటివ్ యాప్టిట్యూడ్ కూడా డిఫికల్టీ లెవెల్స్ అన్నవి చాలా పెంచాడు ఈ 2 yearsలో. అఫ్కోర్స్ ఈ ఇయర్ కూడా మోడరేట్గా ఉంది. ఐ వోంట్ సే దట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఈజీ, at the same time I won't say that it is difficult. It's a moderate paper. So that's why reasoning maximum మనం స్కోర్ చేద్దాం, but we don't know how many questions they will give from this reasoning. There is no standard weightage for this. Very అవుతూ ఉంది. Okay. So reasoning is important. At the same time this is a pattern, and next coming years also something around on an average 10 to 15 and వరకు ఉండొచ్చు. On an average from 10 to 15 questions are allotted to logical reasoning. Next, quantitative aptitude. The third part is quantitative aptitude, and the number of questions 37, 39, 35, 32, 36. Even though it is 25, the rest of the 10 questions relate to the data sufficiencies. Again, quantitative aptitude. So you can say that it's not just 25, it's 25 plus 10, 35, because all data sufficiency questions are related to the quantitative aptitude. What is data sufficiency means that in GS paper you can see that statements are given. Statement 1 and statement 2. So exactly like this, statement 1 is given to you and statement 2 is given to you, and there is a question, and how do you solve this question? Based on which statements you can solve. All questions of data sufficiency is again related to quantitative aptitude also. Okay. Again, so this 12 questions or 6 questions earlier was, some of them are reasoning, from some of them are from quant. So data sufficiency related to quantitative aptitude and reasoning only. It's not a separate subject. Data sufficiency is related to the quantitative aptitude and reasoning. మనం చేసేటప్పుడు ఏంటంటే డేటా సఫిషియన్సీ క్వశ్చన్స్ కూడా వాటికి రిలేటెడ్గా మనం చేస్తాం. సో మనకి ఇక్కడ కూడా మనకి ఆల్మోస్ట్ ఆల్ 35 క్వశ్చన్స్ వరకు వచ్చినట్టు, 25 ప్లస్ 10 35. ఓకే, సో ఇది మనకి పేపర్ ట్రెండ్ లాస్ట్ 2019 నుంచి 2024 వరకు మనకి ఇదే ట్రెండ్ ఫాలో అవుతుంది అనమాట. సో మీరు నెక్స్ట్ ఇయర్స్ తీసుకున్నా సరే రీడింగ్ కాంప్రిహెన్షన్ నుంచి ఒక 27 క్వశ్చన్స్ రావచ్చు, అండ్ రీజనింగ్ నుంచి 10 to 15. వీ కెన్ ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ ద నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఫ్రమ్ రీజనింగ్ ఈజ్ 10 to 15, అండ్ క్వాంటిటేటివ్ యాప్టిట్యూడ్ ఇస్ అరౌండ్ లైక్ 35 క్వశ్చన్స్ వరకు రావచ్చు. ఓకే మ్యామ్, క్లియర్? యా, నౌ విల్ సీ దట్ what are the topics in aptitude and logical reasoning. So this you can write it, logical reasoning syllabus. First you note down the syllabus. The first one is analogy, next classification, series. So these three are considered as only one thing, that is number series. All these three together we do it as number series topic. So the next topic is coding and decoding. Next, blood relation. Next, direction sense test. Logical Venn diagram. Alphabet test. Seating arrangement. Mathematical operations. Ranking and time sequence test. Clocks, calendars, problems and ages, cubes and dice, syllogisms, statements and arguments, statement and course of action, statements and conclusions. Just one more advantage with this CSAT is, if you write other competitive exams, almost in every competitive exam we have quantitative aptitude and logical reasoning. So most of the questions will cover from it. Okay, I won't say that completely, because suppose if you write SSC has the pure maths. As far as the arithmetic part is concerned, we can cover most of the questions, most of the pattern of the questions we can cover it. Banking and so any exams you can write. So ఇందులో క్వాంటిటేటివ్ aptitude, లాజికల్ రీజనింగ్ ఉన్నా సరే ఏంటంటే ఇట్ విల్ కవర్. ఇట్ డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ ద ఎగ్జామ్ టు ఎగ్జామ్. సమ్ ఎగ్జామ్స్ విల్ హ్యావ్ ద ప్యూర్ మ్యాథ్స్, సో దానికి ఇంకా ఎక్స్ట్రాగా మనం నేర్చుకోవాల్సింది. బట్ మోస్ట్లీ ఇట్ విల్ బీ యూస్ఫుల్ ఫర్ అదర్ ఎగ్జామ్స్ ఆల్సో. ఓకే, సో ఎందుకంటే ఆల్మోస్ట్ ఆల్ సో ఈ ఒక్క ఎగ్జామ్స్ యూపీఎస్సీ కాకుండా సో రిమైనింగ్ ఆల్ ఎగ్జామ్స్ హ్యావ్ దట్ క్వాంట్ అండ్ లాజికల్ రీజనింగ్ హ్యాస్ మోర్ వెయిటేజ్. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో యూస్ఫుల్ ఫర్ అదర్ ఎగ్జామ్స్. ఓకే అమ్మా, రైట్, లెట్స్ లుక్ ఎట్ దట్. సో quant syllabus, quantitative aptitude syllabus. There is one thing in quantitative aptitude. Yes, so we have seen that trend of CSAT number of questions from various subjects like quantitative aptitude, logical reasoning and reading comprehension. So when we look at the number of questions from the quantitative aptitude, there are almost all around 35 questions, right? But again, what are the most important topics for CSAT? There are two major topics which are very, very important in CSAT. Okay, almost 50%, 40 to 50% of weightage is given to these two particular topics. That is number systems. Second one is permutations and combinations. The first one is number system and the second one is permutations and combination. So these two topics has more weightage than any other topics. Okay. So you please note down it. The first one is number system, quantitative aptitude syllabus. Quantitative aptitude syllabus. The first one is number system. See, simplification, search and indices, this all together will be considered as number system. All these three topics are comes under one topic only, that is number system. In number system only we have the simplifications and search and indices. So next topic is LCM and HCF. LCM and HCF. And the next topic is ratio and proportion. Ratio and proportion. Next one is percentages. Percentages. Next, partnership. Partnership. Next, profit and loss. Profit and loss. Next topic is averages. Next, time and distance. Time and work. Simple interest and compound interest. Set theory. PNC means that this is the topic we are talking about, permutations and combination. Permutations and combinations. Next one is probability. Next topic is probability and mensuration. Mensuration means that finding out the areas, volumes. Okay, so out of all these topics, this is considered as numbers. This is considered as one topic. And number systems, this PNC, permutations and combinations, are the most important topics in CSAT. As I already mentioned that almost 40 to 50% of the weightage is given to these two topics. So from the last few years, the standard of questions, especially some questions were really tough. Really tough means that most of the students felt that that is IIT standard, but it's not IIT standard actually. It's CAT standard. I would say that. Okay. CAT exam is considered as one of the toughest exams as far as aptitude is concerned. Right. Some questions, not all the questions, like it's around that 6 to 7 questions were given in that standard. But fairly, it is a moderate paper in 2024, but 22 and 23 is a little bit tough. Tough because you don't focus more on that quantitative aptitude part. That is the only reason. If you prepare well for this quantitative aptitude, then you can easily qualify in that CSAT. Okay. So before I start the topics, once again I'll tell you that don't take this CSAT paper in an easy way. Take it seriously. Just because it is qualifying paper, again, time and again, the students are doing the same mistake by taking it very lightly. So after writing the exam, they realize the importance of it. Okay, don't do that mistakes. There's one more point is, if you prepare for these particular quantitative aptitude and logical reasoning, as I already mentioned that, it will be useful for other exams. Okay, because of course, whatever the topics we are going to cover here, so minimum, so from basics to minimum high level standard, we'll do it. So these will be helpful for writing other exams also. Please keep it in your mind. Okay, give importance to this aptitude and logical reasoning also, right? So now we directly go to, if you have any queries, you please ask me regarding this CSAT. You understand it completely now? What is CSAT and what are the topics you have? Right. So now we directly start with a topic. So the most important topic is number system. So that's why I start with number system directly. I start with number system. Number system is one of the important topics. That's why I take it from the basics to the advanced level of questions. Okay. So basics means that with this basics of like definitions, from the definitions we start, and also we'll do the previous year questions. There's one more important point. So while you are preparing for CSAT is you have to completely do all previous year questions, especially when it comes to CSAT question, CSAT paper. Almost all 25% to 30% questions were directly taken from your previous year questions of CSAT, right? It might be directly given, so not directly, so indirectly asked. Like I would say that CSAT again, UPSC never repeat questions. Hardly they repeat the questions, right? But the same type of questions, or at least the approach is same. So those type of questions are minimum in every year. We can see that 25 to 30% of questions are given. Okay. So we'll also do that previous year questions. Right. Let's start with the number system. So with numbers means that first we go from the classification of the numbers. So different types of numbers. So what are the major classification of the numbers? What type of numbers we have that? So you tell me that. Which numbers?
Digital numbers, base numbers.
No, digital numbers, not like basic classification. Like you have like natural numbers and whole. Yes, yes. Right. So it starts with the basic classification is real numbers. Yes, natural numbers comes under the real numbers. The first basic classification is real numbers and imaginary numbers. Imaginary numbers. Okay, real numbers, and this is the first basic classification of all numbers. Real numbers and imaginary numbers. Okay, so how many of you are math background students? Maths background. Maths background, you're a BTech students, huh? M? 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 Law. MBA. MBA. Mid. Next mid. Arts background. Okay. It doesn't matter math student and a non-math background student. So because if you are non-math background, like little bit stress ఎక్కువగా కొంచెం ఇస్తాం అంతే. ఓకే, సో ఏమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉంటే మీరు వెంటనే అడగండి, ప్రాబ్లం లేదు. రైట్, బేసికల్గా మనకి ఏంటంటే నెంబర్ సిస్టమ్స్లో రియల్ నెంబర్స్ అండ్ ఇమాజినరీ నెంబర్స్ ఉంటాయి. అయితే ఈ ఇమాజినరీ నెంబర్స్ ఆర్ ఓన్లీ ద నేమ్ ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్ సజెస్ట్ దట్ దిస్ నెంబర్స్ ఆర్ ఓన్లీ ఇమాజినరీ. They really don't exist. Okay, so they don't exist on the number line. It's only in imaginary numbers, and we also call it as complex numbers. So these will be studied in our advanced level of, in intermediate, in degree standards only we'll study. The aptitude means that it is till 10th class. మీకు క్లియర్గా మెన్షన్ కూడా చేస్తాడు, till 10th స్టాండర్డ్ అనేసి. ఓకే, సో మనకి ఇక్కడ ఇమాజినరీ నెంబర్స్ అనే క్వశ్చన్ లేదు. ఓకే, వీ డోంట్ డీల్ విత్ ద ఇమాజినరీ నెంబర్స్. వాట్ ఎవర్ ద నెంబర్స్ వీ డీల్, దోస్ ఆర్ రియల్ నెంబర్స్. ఓకే, సో వీల్ డీల్ విత్ ద ఓన్లీ రియల్ నెంబర్స్. నౌ ఈ రియల్ నెంబర్స్లో ఏమున్నాయన్నది మనం తెలుసుకుంటే చాలు. ఓకే, సో వాట్ ఎవర్ ద నెంబర్స్ యూ కన్సిడర్, ఆల్ ద నెంబర్స్ ఆర్ రిలేటెడ్ టు ద రియల్ నెంబర్స్ ఓన్లీ. దట్ విల్ డూ వన్ బై వన్. ద ఫస్ట్ వన్ ఈస్ in real numbers. The first one is, first of all, what are the real numbers? In simple words I would say any number is a real number. చాలా సింపుల్ వర్డ్స్లో చెప్పాలంటే మీరు నెంబర్ అని చెప్పేది ఏదైనా సరే రియల్ నెంబర్ అవుతుంది. 1, 2/3, 0.5, -2.5, √2, √5, ఏ నెంబర్ చెప్పుకున్నా సరే దట్ ఈస్ ఎ రియల్ నెంబర్. ఓకే, రియల్ నెంబర్ అంటే ఏంటంటే ఎనీ నెంబర్ ఈజ్ ఎ రియల్ నెంబర్. సింపుల్ లాంగ్వేజ్లో చెప్తున్నాను, ఏ నెంబర్ మీరు తీసుకున్నా సరే రియల్ నెంబరే అవుతుంది. In these real numbers we have the classifications, right? The first one is, first we had to start with the integers. Okay, first we had to start with the integers. You don't need to by heart the definitions, definitions by heart cheyalsina avasaram ledhu, but we need to know that what is an integer, what is a natural number, what is a whole number. Okay, So don't by heart them, but we need to know about all the types of numbers, right? Integers means that what? What are the integers? Different types of integers. Integers means that these are pure numbers, which means that the numbers without having any decimals, without having any fractions. Fractions gaani decimals gaani lekunda unna numbers anni kuda manaki integer numbers antaru, which means that they are pure numbers like 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 ala infinity, minus 1 minus 2 minus 3 up to minus infinity. Okay, so no decimal, simple ga cheppalante, so there are no decimals and no fractions. Okay, those are integers. Numbers without having the numbers, real numbers without having decimals and fractions. Okay, so these are 0 1 2 3 up to so on infinity, minus 1 minus 2 up to so on minus infinity. Okay, 0 నుంచి 1 2 3 4 up to infinity, minus 1 minus 2 minus 3 up to minus infinity. Okay, so which means that no decimals and no fractions. This is the integers. In these integers we have different types. The first one is natural numbers, next one is natural numbers. You all know that what is meant by natural numbers. You tell me what you know about these numbers one by one. What are natural numbers? Yes, 1 to infinity. So the integers which starts from 1 to infinity. 1 to infinity. అంటే 1 నుంచి స్టార్ట్ అయిన ఇంటిజర్ నెంబర్స్. ఇంటిజర్స్ అంటే చెప్పుకున్నాం కదా, ప్యూర్ నెంబర్స్ 1 2 3 అప్ టు ఇన్ఫినిటీ. సో ద ఇంటిజర్స్ విచ్ స్టార్ట్ ఫ్రమ్ 1 టు ఇన్ఫినిటీ, 1 2 3 4 అప్ టు సో ఆన్ ఇన్ఫినిటీ, దీస్ ఆర్ కాల్డ్ న్యాచురల్ నెంబర్స్. ఓకే, సో నెక్స్ట్ whole numbers. Next one is whole numbers. What are meant by whole numbers? Yes, 0 1 2 up to so on infinity. Only thing is we have to include 0. Whole numbers are 0 1 2 3 and so on up to infinity. Next, even numbers. Next we take even numbers. 2 4 6 8 general ga telusu kadamma even numbers. What are even numbers? 2 4 6 8 up to so on infinity, right? So what is the definition of even number? Yeah, it is divisible by 2. Generally divisible ante it should be perfectly divisible by 2, which means that when you divide any number with 2, if you get the remainder 0, you divide any number with 2, when you get the remainder 0, those type of numbers are called what? Even numbers, right? Then, so please don't write. I'll give you a simple question. You tell me that which is the least. Listen the question. So which is the least even number in the number system? I'll give you options also. Which is the least even number in the number systems? We all know that what are the even numbers. Now the question is this: which is the least even number in the number system? 2 0. First let us talk about that 0. First you tell me that 0 is an even number or odd number. So which number? 0 is which number? Is it an even number or odd number? It is neither even nor odd. So it's not an even number, odd number. Okay, right. First of all, we have to know about the 0. So what is the definition of even number? Even number definition is what? Any number is perfectly divisible by 2. Okay, so I have a doubt regarding this 0, whether it is an even number or odd number. Now you divide this 0 with 2. Okay, because an even number definition is what? Any number which is perfectly divisible by 2 is. So 2 zeros are 0, right? 0 minus 0 is what? 0, no? We are getting the remainder 0. So 0, if I divide with 2, what is the remainder I am getting? 0 ని 2 తో డివైడ్ చేసేటప్పుడు వచ్చే రిమైండర్ ఎంత? 0 only, which means that as per the definition it is true, right? So 0, now tell me, can I consider it as an even number? Yes, it is an even. 0 ని 2 తో డివైడ్ చేసామమ్మా, 0 వచ్చింది కదా రిమైండర్. సో మనకి యాజ్ పర్ ద డెఫినేషన్, సో ఎనీ నెంబర్ when it is divisible by 2, perfectly divisible by 2, those numbers are called even number. So 0 is absolutely even number. సో ఓకే, సరే బేసిక్గా ఒక నెంబర్ 20 అనే నెంబర్ ఉందనుకోండి అమ్మ, 20 అనే నెంబర్ ఈవెన్ నెంబర్ అవుతుందా లేదా? ఎలా చెప్పాం? ఇంకొక డెఫినేషన్ కూడా మనం చెప్తాం, అంటే లాస్ట్ డిజిట్ అనేది 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 అయితే ఆ నెంబర్స్ని మనం ఎలా కన్సిడర్ చేస్తాం? ఈవెన్ నెంబర్స్గా కన్సిడర్ చేస్తాం అని చెప్తాం. 0 అనేసి ఉంది కదా దాంట్లో. సో విచ్ మీన్స్ దట్ 0 ఈజ్ ఆల్సో అన్ ఈవెన్ నెంబర్. యూ ప్లీజ్ నోట్ డౌన్ దట్ పాయింట్. ఈవెన్ నెంబర్స్లో 0 ఈజ్ ఆల్సో అన్ ఈవెన్ నెంబర్. 0 is also even number. Of course, if you want the definition, you can write the definition like this: any number which is perfectly divisible by 2, any number which is perfectly divisible by 2 is called an even number. Any number which is perfectly divisible by 2 is called even number. Right. In that you can also write that 0 is an even number. Now tell me, answer for this question. Which of the following are, so which is the least even number in the number system? These are the options. Now tell me the answer. 0. Wrong answer. Yeah, I'll repeat my question. Which is the least even number in the number system? Least even number. I want to know the least even number in the number system. Why none of the above?
Everything can divide.
If it is none of the above, then you tell me the answer. If the answer is none of the above, there must be some answer, right?
Minus also.
Yes, absolutely. See, when we studied in our school days, we have studied it only about that even numbers means that 0 to 0, 2, 4, 6, right? So we don't focus more on the negative numbers. Okay, here any number means that any real number.
But negative option will be replaced.
అందుకే none of the above అనేసి ఇచ్చాను. Okay, so here the point to be noted is negative numbers also have even numbers. Negative numbers also, which mean that -2, -4, -6, -8 up to so on minus infinity. So generally minus infinity would be considered as the least even number. That value we don't know perfectly, but minus infinity. So it was asked in one of the exams, like, so which is the least even number in the number system, means that minus infinity. So you please note down the point that negative numbers also have even numbers. Negative numbers also have even numbers. So even numbers examples you can write 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 and so on, -2, -4, -6, -8. All these are even numbers. Okay, ma? Next. So even numbers is done. Next, odd numbers. So the numbers which are not perfectly divisible by 2 are called even odd numbers.
5, 7.
Yes, 1, 3, 5, 7, -1, -3, -5, -7, all these numbers are odd numbers. So 0 is an even number, that you should remember it. 0 is an even number. 1, 3, 5, 7, so all these numbers are odd numbers. Next, rational numbers. Rational numbers. What are the rational numbers? Yes, good. Yeah. Rational, first you write the definition. Any number which can be written in the form of P by Q, any number which can be written in the form of P by Q, where Q not equal to 0, are called rational numbers. So what is the definition? Any number which can be written in the form of P by Q, where Q not equal to 0, are called rational numbers. Okay. So here it is mentioned that Q not equal to 0. So which means that the denominator part should not be equal to 0. Why? So what happens if denominator part equal to 0? See, what is 2 by 0 value? 2. All are wrong. All answers are wrong. Okay, first you tell me that 0 by 2 is how much? 0 by 2 is 0. So which means that 0 when you divide with 2. So the quotient part is what? 0. 2 zeros are 0. Alright. So 0 by 2 is 0. 0 by any number is what? 0. Zero by any number is 0. But any number by 0? It's not infinity. So see, 2 when you divide with 0, okay? Any quotient value, if you get that, when do you get the remainder 0? For which quotient you get the remainder 0? You take any value, even if you write infinity here, 0 into infinity is what? 0 only. So 2 minus 0, we don't get 0. Basically, any number by 0 will become not defined. It is undefined. But in rare cases, we consider it as infinity, especially in trigonometry part. Okay? Otherwise, it is undefined. So, any numbers divided by 0 is undefined. So, 0 by any number is 0, any number by 0 is undefined. అదే చెప్తున్నాను. So, very rare cases లో basically it is not defined, but when you do higher maths, then we consider this infinity. Okay, only for few problems we'll consider it. Even మీరు చూసుకుంటే సో tan వాల్యూస్లోని గట్ట ఏంటంటే కొన్ని టెక్స్ట్ బుక్స్లో అన్డిఫైన్ అనేసి రాస్తారు. ఓకే, ఇట్స్ నాట్ ఇన్ఫినిటీ యాక్చువల్లీ. ఇన్ఫినిటీ మీన్స్ దట్ we don't know that value, the value is very big, but still that value is there. But not defined means that it does not exist. Okay, rational number definition is what? Any number which can be written in the form of P by Q, where Q not equal to 0. The denominator part should not be equal to 0. Okay. Now tell me the examples for the rational numbers. See, any number which can be written in the form of P by Q. P by Q means that what? It is a fraction, right? So I would say that 2 by 3 is a rational number. Minus 4 by 5, it's a rational number. Just in the form of P by Q. Okay, all those numbers are considered as rational numbers. Let's suppose if I take 2, is it a rational number? 2, can I consider it as a rational number? Yes, yes. So 2 is a rational number because we can able to write this 2 as 2 by 1. What is the definition? Any number which can be written in the form of, we can write, right? 2 by 1. We can write this 2 as 2 by 1. Okay. So when I say that 2 or any number minus 3, if I give you, that still we can able to write that minus 3 by 1. right? Minus 3 by 1 value is still minus 3. So it is also in terms of P by Q. So it is a rational number. See, if you look at this one, so all this 2 by 3 minus 4 by 5 means that these are what? Fractions. All fractions are rational numbers. You can take any fraction value. A fraction value is what? A rational number. And similarly, if you take that integer, what are these numbers? 2 minus 3, all these numbers, integer numbers, right? Integers ఏ కదమ్మా, ఇంటిజర్స్ లో చెప్పుకున్నాం కదా, ఇంటిజర్స్. So all fractions are rational numbers, all integer numbers are rational numbers. Okay, suppose if I take that 0.2, can I take it as a rational number? 0.2 means that what? 2 by 10. Okay, so decimal values you can write it in the form of P by Q. 0.2 means that you can write it as 2 by 10. Suppose if you take that 0.32, 0.32 means that what? 32 by 100. So you can take any decimal value. So decimal value is also considered as what? So rational number examples are, all fractions are rational numbers, all integer numbers. If you take any integer number, that is also a rational number, and even the decimal numbers. If you take any decimal number, that decimal number is also a rational number. And there's one more thing. Suppose if I take that 0.3 bar. Okay, so what is this 0.3 bar mean? Yes, so you know this bar numbers, right? 0.3 bar means that it is what? 0.333. If a bar is there after decimal point, which means that the same digit is repeated endlessly. Okay, 0.33333. Actually, this type of numbers are called recurring decimals. Recurring decimals. Recurring decimals. Recurring means that what? Repeated. Okay, so 0.3 bar means that the 3 is repeated, right? After decimal point, 3 is repeated. So these are called recurring decimals. Basically, when you take this recurring decimals, any recurring decimals like 0.3 bar or 0.3 bar, 32 bar, all these numbers can be written in the form of P by Q. Okay, all the numbers we can write it in the form of P by Q. That I will tell you in the next classes, because this is a separate concept, writing the recurring decimals into, converting the recurring decimals into P by Q form. If you remember that, so you might have studied in your school days, converting a recurring decimal into P by Q form. How we need to convert, that we'll see it in the coming classes. Okay, there is a separate topic on it, so we'll see it in the coming classes. But as of now, you please remember that recurring decimals can also be converted into P by Q form. So that's why all recurring decimals like 0.3 bar, 0.23 bar, these are also rational numbers. And you please remember this, because so based on the definitions, some questions were given in the previous year questions, like match the following. So here on the set A is given like rational number, irrational number, even number, odd number. On set B we have given examples and we had to match them. And also we have the questions like which of the following numbers is a rational number. So likewise the questions are given in the earlier years, previous years, right? So it is important to remember all these things. So rational number, basic definition is what? Rational number means that any number which can be written in the form of P by Q, and also where Q not equal to 0 are called rational numbers. The examples for the rational numbers are, so you take any fraction values that's absolutely there in the form of P by Q, and also integer numbers. Integer numbers we can write it as divided by 1 means that all numbers becomes in the form of P by Q. Next, decimal numbers. Any decimal number should be considered as P P by Q. So which means that all these numbers are rational numbers. Even the recurring decimals are also what? Rational numbers. Okay, ma? Clear? Right. So rational numbers are completed. Then next one is irrational numbers. Irrational. It's exactly opposite. Irrational numbers. Yes, which is, so it can be written in the form of P by Q is rational numbers, which cannot be written in the form of P by Q is irrational numbers. So you please note down it. Irrational numbers. Any number which cannot be written in the form of any number which cannot be written in the form of P by Q. Any number which cannot be written in the form of P by Q is called an irrational number. Is called an irrational number. Okay. So then what is the example for the irrational number? Yes, sir. Good. Non-repeating and non-terminating. Generally, as per the definition, we cannot say that what is an irrational number as per this definition. But there's one more definition for this irrational number. A non-terminating and non-recurring decimal. A non-terminating and non-recurring decimal. Is called an irrational number. Non-terminating and non-recurring decimal is called an irrational number. So what is that? Non-terminating. Non-terminating means that suppose if you take that 0.324. Non-terminating means that after decimal point, terminate means that what? End. Non-terminate means that no end. So the number should be 0.324661, something like that, and so on. Different digits will come after the decimal point and it is endless. It is non-terminated, right? So we have the different numbers. At the same time, there is also a condition that suppose if you take 0.3 bar, it is also non-terminating because 0.333333 endlessly we can write it. But it is what? Recurring decimal. So that's why the definition is what? Non-terminating, at the same time non-recurring. So the digits should not be repeated again. Repeated again means that, so same 0.32 pattern should not be repeated. So non-terminating and non-recurring decimals are called irrational numbers. So these we can directly remember the examples. Those are, yeah, what are these non-terminating and non-recurring decimals? For example, if you take root 2, what is the value of root 2? The root 2 value. Root 2 amma. 1.4. Yeah, approximately 1.414. Generally, root 2 value is 1.414. That is very approximate value. So you can see it in your mobiles like root 2 value. It's endlessly will come like root 1.414 and so on. Okay, it's non-terminating, at the same time non-recurring decimals. Okay, so you can use it in your mobile. So even in the mobile there is a limit. A space even if you use it in the computer also, it will come to up to certain digits only. Okay, because enta space unte anta vastune untundi, because it is a non-terminating and non-recurring decimal. So what are the examples means that, say all these square roots, cube roots, fourth roots, fifth roots, okay, all the roots, square roots gani, cube roots gani, fourth roots, fifth roots, all these considered as irrational numbers. Root 2, root 3, root 5, all these numbers, root 6. But suppose if you take root 4, okay, root 4 is not an irrational number, it is a rational number. Why? Because root 4 value is what? 2. So 2 is a rational number. So if it is a perfect square like root 9, 3. Similarly, you can write that cube root of 2, cube root of 4, cube root of 5, cube root, any root is okay. Again, if you take that cube root of 8, for example, if you take cube root of 8, is it a rational number or irrational number? What is the cube root of 8? 8 is cube of which number? 2 cube is 8. So which means that cube root of 8 is what? 2. Okay. When we get the perfect squares, perfect cube roots, perfect fourth roots, then those numbers are not irrational number. Rest of all the numbers are what? Irrational numbers. So all these are examples for the irrational numbers. You understand it? So these are the examples for the irrational numbers. Irrational numbers. And these are the examples, and there is one more thing, that is mathematical constants. Like if you take that pi value. What is pi? Pi value? Yeah, 22 by 7. Yes, in other words, it is 3.141 and so on. Okay, again, it is not an exact value, so it is a non-terminating and non-recurring decimals. So pi value, Euler's constant, any mathematical constant will be considered as irrational numbers. If mathematical constant is given, then obviously it is an irrational number. These are the main important points. So irrational numbers means that the numbers which are non-terminating and non-recurring decimals. These are the examples. Okay. Now let us look at a question here. There is a question and tell me the answer for that. It was a previous year question. 22 by 7 is which number? Rational number, irrational number, even number and odd number. Option A or option 1 or option 2? Option 2. You know the definition, rational number and irrational number. So my question is 22 by 7 is which number? Second option, huh? First option. Second option. Okay, let's look at this one. So 22 by 7. First of all, if it is a second option, who told the second option is the correct one? Could you please explain me why it is the second option, irrational number? 22, see, we don't consider like after dividing. Okay, so if it is like that, so we cannot say that. I told you in the like I see, I have clearly written here that, and I have clearly said that all fractions are rational numbers. Okay, so 2 by 3, again it is not completely divisible, right? So we cannot divide it, we cannot simplify the values. So it's directly you can consider that value. The thing is whether it is in the form of P by Q or not. We have to look at this only. So is it in the form of P by Q or not? Okay, so we don't need to simplify anything there. So now here you can see that it's just a number which is in the form of P by Q. Again, we don't consider it as pi value. Okay, so 22 is simply in the form of P Q. So this is in the form of what? P by Q, and also Q not equal to 0. So that's why it is what? Rational numbers. It's a very important point. Please note on the point. So 22 by 7 is a rational number. Rational number. But pi is what? Pi is irrational number. You see the difference? 22 by 7 is a rational number because it is in the form of p by q. But pi is what? It is a mathematical constant, so that's why it is irrational number. Where pi means that we will consider it as 3.141 and so on. Okay, that's why it is a rational number, irrational number. Okay, right. The next one is prime numbers. What are prime numbers? Okay, any number which is perfectly divisible by 1 and the number itself, but only word is important. Only 1 and the number itself. Okay, okay. Anyways, can you give me the examples for the prime numbers? First, you tell me the examples for the prime numbers. What are the prime numbers? Example 2, 3, 5. Prime numbers, you know, right? 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. All these are examples for the prime numbers. So, by the way, what is a prime number means that any number which has only 1 and the number itself as factors are called prime numbers. Okay, before this, I'll give you the definition of factors because it is important. Factors definition. Factors means that what? So we can also call it as divisors. What is meant by factor or divisor? Which means that suppose if you take 24, if I ask you what are the factors for 24, so the numbers which are divisible by these numbers, okay, so which are dividing these numbers perfectly. 24 is divisible by which number, Summa? Tell me. So 1, 24 is also divisible by 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 24. Okay, this particular number 24 is divisible by all these numbers, right? So these are called factors or divisors. You understand what is meant by factor or divisor? Any particular number is divisible by different numbers. Any particular number is divisible by different numbers. So those different numbers are called factors or divisors. If you look at 24, 24 is divisible by 1, 2, 3, 4, all these numbers, right? These numbers are called factors. These numbers are called what? Factors. Okay. Now let's look at the prime numbers and composite numbers. Prime numbers and composite numbers. Prime number mean that, in simple words I'll tell you. So now you understand that what is meant by factor. Okay. Prime number means that any number has only two factors. If any number has only two factors, that is 1 and the number itself. Okay. First you write that prime numbers. Prime numbers definition is any number which has only two factors. Any number which has only two factors, that is 1 and the number itself. 1 and the number itself is called a prime number. Is called a prime number. Any number which has only two factors, that is 1 and the number itself, are called prime numbers. So which means that, for example, if I take 5, what are the factors for 5? Factors of 5. What are the factors of 5? It is divisible by 1 and 5. So these are the factors, which means that how many factors are there? Only two factors. What are those factors? 1 and the number itself. That means that same 5. So that's why it is what? A prime number. Okay. Any number which has only two factors. If any number has only two factors, those numbers are called prime numbers. Whereas in the case of composite numbers, if any number has more than 2 factors, it's a simple definition of prime numbers and composite numbers. Okay, composite numbers you write, composite numbers means if any number has more than 2 factors, that number is called composite number. That number is called composite number. Right. So, for example, let's say that 6. What are the factors for 6? 6 is divisible by which numbers? 1, 2, 3, 6. Okay. So, now how many factors are there? 4 factors are there, which means that more than 2 factors are there. So, that's why 6 is what? A composite number. So, this is a simple definition for prime number and the composite number. So, prime number means that what? If any number has only 2 factors, that number is called prime number. And composite number means that what? If any number has more than 2 factors, those numbers are called composite numbers. And then what are the points to be noted in prime numbers? Okay, first one. So, if you take all the prime numbers, so what are the different prime numbers? Example 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, all these numbers, right? If you take all the prime numbers, you can see that only 2 is the even prime number. Okay, you cannot see other than 2 as a prime number. When it comes to the even numbers, there is only one even prime number, that is what? 2. Okay, 2 is the only even prime number in the number system. So, you please note down that point. 2 is the only even prime number. 2 is the only even prime number in the number system. 2 is the only even prime number in the number system. Second one. What is the least prime number in the number system? Least prime number. Least prime number. Yes, 2 Amma. Because prime numbers means that it starts from 2 only. So, there are no negative prime numbers. Okay. Only negative numbers for even numbers and odd numbers kuntai. But prime numbers, when it comes to the prime numbers, there are no negative prime numbers. So, that's why the least prime number in the number system, is 2. Okay. Now, how many prime numbers are there from 1 to 100? Knowing prime numbers from 1 to 100 is very, very, very important. So, that's why you please write all the prime numbers from 1 to 100 now. Yes, good. 25 prime numbers are there, but please note down all the prime numbers from 1 to 100 now, because it's very, very important. Most of the number system concepts are related to the prime numbers. So, please write the prime numbers from 1 to 100. Total 25 రావాలమ్మ. 25 రావాలి కదా అని సే numbers పెడితే ఆ numbers రాయకండి, prime numbers రాయండి. Okay, finish it later if you don't complete it. So, there are total 25 prime numbers from 1 to 100. Okay. So, the next point is, when it comes to 1 is which number? Prime number or composite number? 1 is which number? Prime number or 1 is which number? Prime number or composite number? It's a very important point. Okay, so when you take 1, for 1, how many factors are there for 1? 1 is divisible by only 1. So, only one factor is there. Only one factor. As per the definition of prime numbers, so we should have that exactly 2 factors. So, it is not a prime number. And next one is composite number. Composite number definition is what? More than two factors. So it is not satisfying the condition of prime numbers, or it is not satisfying the condition of composite number. So that's why one is considered as what? Neither prime nor composite. One is neither prime nor composite. One is neither prime nor composite. One is neither prime nor composite. Right. So these are the prime numbers and composite numbers. So the next one is twin prime numbers. Twin primes. Twin prime numbers. So prime numbers are different, twin primes are different. So what is a twin prime? So if the difference between any two prime numbers is 2, then those numbers are called twin prime numbers. Which means that, for example, if you take 3 and 5. So what is, these two are prime numbers, right? So what is the difference between these two? Difference between these two prime numbers is 2. Okay? 3 and 5 difference is what? 2. So write the definition. Twin prime numbers. Twin prime numbers means that if the difference between any two prime numbers, if the difference between any two prime numbers is 2, if the difference between any two prime numbers is 2, those numbers are called twin prime numbers. Those numbers are called twin prime numbers. Okay, so next example, tell me another example. 7, 9 is not a prime number.
11:30.
Yes, 11, 13. Even you can take that 5 and 7 also. So 11 and 13 both are prime numbers. The difference between them is what? 2. The difference is 2. And suppose if you take 17 and 19, again these two are prime numbers. The difference is what? 2. So if the difference between the two prime numbers is 2, then those numbers are called what? Twin prime numbers. Okay, next one is relative prime or co-prime. It's very, very important. The next one is relative prime or co-prime. Relative prime or co-prime. So what is meant by relative prime or co-prime? It's very important, relative prime or co-prime. First, I'll give you an example. If you take the two numbers, okay, the two numbers can be any numbers. So those numbers can be prime numbers or normal numbers or prime number and composite number, it's okay. Okay, even though the definition in the name, if we have prime number, we have nothing to do with the prime numbers. Relative prime and co-prime పేరుకు మాత్రమే, బట్ ప్రైమ్ నెంబర్తో సంబంధం లేదు, వాటికి ప్రైమ్ నెంబర్స్తో సంబంధం లేదు. సో దెన్ వాట్ ఈస్ మెంట్ బై రిలేటివ్ ప్రైమ్ అండ్ కో ప్రైమ్స్? నౌ యూ సీ 4. What are the factors for 4? Two numbers are given, 4 and 9. So what are the factors of 4? 1, 2, 4. Right? Factors means that number should be divisible by different numbers. 4 is divisible by which numbers? 1, 2, 4. Let me write. 4 is divisible by 1, 2, 4. 9 is divisible by 1, 3, 9. Right? So now if you look at these two factors, which is a common factor? 1. The common factor is what? 1. So we considered 4 and 9 as co-prime, which means that if two or more numbers have only one common factor, those numbers are called relative primes or co-primes. Okay, you understand it, Amma? If two numbers or more than two numbers also can be considered. So have only one common factor. If you look at that 4 and 9, so if you write all the factors for 4 and 9 separately, so what is the common factor? 1. There is only one common factor. Common factor is only 1. Those numbers are called relative primes or co-primes. Please note down the definition. If two or more numbers have only one common factor, those numbers are called relative prime or co-prime. If two or more numbers have only one common factor, those numbers are called relative prime or co-prime. Okay, ma? If you look at 4 and 9, so you can write the examples of 4 and 9. Common factor is 1. Okay, you give me examples. Second example number 2. Give me example. Any, you can take any numbers. 3, 5, yes. 3, 5. So the factors are what? 1 and 3, 1 and 5. So this is very, very important. So in most of the concept we'll use this. Most of the problems we'll use the concept of relative prime. Okay. So which means that we should have that only one common factor. So 3 means that 1, 3 and 5 means that for 5 the common factors are what? 1. Next, one more example. అన్నింటికినా ప్రైమ్ నెంబర్స్ ఉండాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. ఎస్, ఆబ్వియస్లీ 2 ప్రైమ్ నెంబర్స్ తీసుకున్నారంటే ఖచ్చితంగా 1 కామన్ ఫ్యాక్టర్ ఉంటుంది. కానీ నేను ఆల్రెడీ చెప్పాను కదమ్మా, ప్రైమ్ నెంబర్సే ఉండాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. ఇప్పుడు 4 and 9 తీసుకున్నాం, దోస్ ఆర్ నాట్ ప్రైమ్ నెంబర్స్. అలా ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నేను 4 and 6 తీసుకున్నాను అనుకోండి. ఓకే, దీన్ని తీసుకుంటే ఏమవుతుంది? 1, 2, 4 వస్తుంది, 1, 2, 3, 6 వస్తుంది. ఇక్కడ 1 కన్నా కామన్ ఫ్యాక్టర్ ఇంకోటి ఉందా లేదా? ఓకే, సో దట్స్ వై ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ ఏ co-prime. ఓకే, 6, 7, ఎస్. 1, 2, 3 వస్తుంది. The factors are 1 and 7. 1 is a common factor. Okay. So these are the definitions for, different definitions and different numbers in the number system. So all numbers we have like natural numbers, whole numbers, rational numbers, irrational numbers, even numbers, odd numbers, prime numbers, composite numbers, and relative primes, co-primes, and twin primes. Okay, so clear, Amma? Right. Again, there is one more important thing. The first thing when we start the preparation for CSAT or quantitative aptitude or logical reasoning further, what is the first thing we have to do? The first requirement is there are 3 things which we need to know completely. Okay, those 3 things are: the first, you need to be very perfect in tables. Okay, 1 to 20 tables perfect ga undali. ఎందుకు నవ్వుతున్నారు? 16 9 ఎంతో చెప్పండి అమ్మా. 16 9 నాకు తెలుసు. 9 6 9 1 యా, అంటే ఇప్పుడు 18 6 17 8 అది మరి సడన్ గానే రావాలమ్మా. విత్ ఇన్ 1 minute. ఇప్పుడు మీరు ప్రాబ్లం చేస్తున్నప్పుడు ఇలాంటి క్యాలిక్యులేషన్, ఇలాంటి టేబుల్స్ చాలా వస్తుంది. మీకు డిఫరెన్స్ చెప్తాను. టేబుల్స్ పర్ఫెక్ట్గా నేర్చుకోవడం వల్ల, సో మీరు అనే టేబుల్స్ అంటే ఆ వేలో చేయడం వల్ల ఆల్మోస్ట్ ఆల్ యూ కెన్ సేవ్ దట్ 10 to 15 minutes of time. 10 to 15 minutes of time will be saved. ఓకే, ఇట్స్ వెరీ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. అంటే మీరు 16 9 అంటే 9 6 9 1 చేసే బదులు 16 9 మీకు తెలుసు 144 అని తెలిస్తే ఇట్ విల్ బీ ఈజీ ఫర్ యూ, రైట్? సో చాలా టైం అంటే మనకి ఒక ప్రాబ్లంలో రాదు. దిస్ క్యాల్కులేషన్ విల్ కమ్ ఆల్మోస్ట్ ఆల్ ఎవ్రీ ప్రాబ్లమ్. ఇన్ ఎవ్రీ ప్రాబ్లమ్ విల్ హ్యావ్ దట్. ఓకే, సో ఖచ్చితంగా వీ హ్యావ్ టు రిమెంబర్ దట్ tables from 1 to 20. It's mandatory. The first priority before we start the preparation for CSAT. So I'll write it. So first 1 to 20 tables. And next one is minimum 1 to 30 squares. Minimum 1 to 30 squares. For example, 21 square. What is 21 square? 441. Okay, so when a square number, even in arithmetic part, suppose let's say that 21 square we don't know. At least we have an option that we can multiply 21 into 21. Maybe time taking I understand, at least also. But whereas in the case of logical reasoning, we have a topic called number series. There you need to identify the numbers. So the questions will be given like this: 144, 169, 196, 225. What is the next number? So likewise, the questions are given to us. Unless and until we identify the numbers as square numbers or cube numbers, we cannot solve the questions. Okay, so then 11 square rasam, 12 square rasam, 13 square rasam, 14 square rasam, adi manam identify cheyali. Without identification, so we cannot do that questions. Squares and cubes questions మీద చాలా number series related questions ఉంటాయి. Number series గానీ, analogy గానీ, odd man out గానీ, all these are related to this. So 1 to 30 squares అయితే 1 to 30 questions మనకి కంపల్సరీ కావాలమ్మా. 1 to 30 questions, 1 to 30 squares. Next 1 to 20 cubes minimum. These are the minimum requirements. 1 to 20 tables and 1 to 30 squares and 1 to 20 cubes. Especially when it comes to the squares and cubes, we need to identify the squares and cubes. ఆ స్క్వేర్ నెంబర్ కానీ క్యూబ్ నెంబర్ కానీ చూసిన వెంటనే ఐడెంటిఫై చేయాలి. నెంబర్ సిస్టమ్ ఇన్ లాజికల్ రీజనింగ్ ఈస్ ద మోస్ట్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ టాపిక్, నాట్ జస్ట్ ఫర్ CSAT. ఇఫ్ యూ రైట్ ఎనీ అదర్ ఎగ్జామ్, కాంపిటేటివ్ ఎగ్జామ్, నెంబర్ సిరీస్ హ్యాస్ అ వెరీ గుడ్ వెయిటేజ్. ఓకే, నెంబర్ సిరీస్ అనమాట. అంటే లాజికల్ రీజనింగ్లో వచ్చే సిరీస్ గురించి చెప్తున్నాను. ఇట్ రిలేటెడ్ టు ద ఆడ్ మెన్ అవుట్ అని, ఎనాలజీ, దాన్ని బేస్ చేసుకునే చాలా చాలా ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఉంటాయి. ఓకే, సో ఐ రైట్ దట్ స్క్వేర్స్ అండ్ క్యూబ్స్ అమ్మ. సో ప్లీజ్ నోట్ డౌన్ దట్. Minimum we have to learn. Squares from 1 to 30. So I write here, please note down, it's 1 square is 1. See, when you are by-hearting the squares and cubes, it's not just enough to know the values of what is 21 square or 22 square. You need to identify the numbers. So you need to perfectly remember all the values, like 441. So 21 square, 1331, 11 cube. So in this way, we had to learn. So it is important, very important for the number series. So 1 to 20 tables and 1 to 30 squares minimum and 1 to 20 cubes. For doing little bit faster calculation, it is required. And also prime numbers from 1 to 100. So identifying the prime numbers from 1 to 100 is minimum 1 to 100. It's very important. Okay. So because most of the concepts in the number systems are related to the prime numbers. Okay. So that's why at least you need to identify the prime numbers. So what are the prime numbers from 1 to 100? So in factors concept is there, and the maximum power concepts are there. For all these concepts, we need to write the given numbers in the form of prime numbers product. Right? Okay. So you know that 1 to 20 tables are mandatory, but apart from that, there are two important table, 3, 25 and 24. Okay. So LCMs of 25. 25 is the most important table because so many numbers are related to the 25th table. 25th table is very, very important. If you direct, it's not a difficult table to by heart. So 25th table, so you can also logically remember that. So 25th table is almost important in every concept of both aptitude and logical reasoning. When you do percentages, profit and loss, or time and distance, time and work, almost not one topic. It's not confined to one topic. So 25th table application, we'll use it almost in every. Okay. So the most important table, the most important 25th table. Right. You also write this 25th table. And apart from that, 24th table also, time and work, time and distance, sums చేసేటప్పుడు ఏంటంటే దాని మల్టిపుల్స్ ఎక్కువగా మనం యూజ్ చేస్తుంటాం అన్నమాట. అది కూడా నేర్చుకుంటే బెటర్. Okay. So in the next class, we'll start the new concept. So number system lone. So as of today, first class gabatti definitions wise manam cheptunnam. From the next class, we'll directly go to the different types of problems. Okay. Any doubts? No? Clear?